Thank you so much for tuning into the Why Not Me podcast. I am Kevin Delgado, and I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you, the journey towards growth by asking the question, why not me? Right now, I invite you to push aside distractions and focus on your journey. You deserve the time to focus on self-development, ask challenging questions, develop self-belief, and critically ask the question, why not me? Before we get too far, let's recap last episode. Last episode was navigating the deep fog and doing that by being nearsighted. And if you have driven in a deep fog, you can only see what's right in front of you. And so the idea is that sometimes in our Why Not Me journey, our growth milestone, our goal on the horizon doesn't seem visible anymore in that moment for a period of time. And all we can do is focus on what is right in front of us to get through that fog to the next milestone. And so that is huge. And today I am thrilled, super excited to talk about this topic. It's one that I've learned in the recent months, and I've articulated it and summarized it in the recent months, and I'm leaning on it right now as we speak. And it is pertaining to life and how to overcome challenges. And when unforeseen circumstances come your way, when adversity comes your way, when a challenge comes your way, how to respond to it. So today's episode is called Knowing Your Toolbox. Knowing Your Toolbox and the Art of Radical Stability. And to set this all up, let's talk a little bit about life. Life is hectic. Life is full of change, many things that are demanding our attention at all times, and they are all urgent and all emergencies. And at times it can pile up. It can seem like a lot. And in our Why Not Me journey, we will be challenged in so many ways, And sometimes we're challenged when we are energized and we are eager for a challenge. And sometimes we're challenged when we're weary and we're like, dude, please give me a break. I need another week before you challenge me again. It doesn't discriminate. And sometimes it seems like when we're challenged, the challenge is to move a mountain. Other times, the challenge seems like it's more of lifting a pebble, something that's relatively easy or seemingly easier. Knowing the task or knowing the challenge. So as you're going through your Why Not Me journey, a challenge comes up, you become aware of it. That can be intimidating, and it could lead to us stopping or feeling ill-equipped or unprepared, not qualified, underqualified, like an imposter. Oftentimes as humans, I do this all the time. We forget about what we're capable of. We forget about all that we have done. We forget about all that we've overcome. We forget about all the times we've told ourselves, I am going to do this, and you've done it successfully, and you've grown through it, and you've learned from it. We forget about those things. We stop reminding ourselves of our skills and our abilities that we have that will get us through anything, and we start to hyper focus on what we can't do. And the small thing that we're focused on, that what we can't do, all of a sudden becomes a lot louder and heavier and more powerful than the things that you have done and what you can do. And this causes us to lose steam and to grow weary in our Why Not Me journey, to grow weary in our growth, to lose focus and ultimately lose hope. And a good challenge at the wrong time can really derail your growth. And it can really make you question or lose steam, or it could break whatever habit you are on, whatever rhythm and flow you are on when you were going from milestone to milestone. It can break that and shake that. And getting back to that rhythm is difficult, especially if you're not prepared to be comfortable and to find peace and stability when the challenges come, when these challenges arise. To feel comfort, to feel peace, to be stable, to achieve radical stability, you have to have an inventory of your resume. You have to grab onto what makes you great. You have to remind yourself of all that you have done and all the tools that you have accumulated that you might ever need. And today's episode, knowing your toolbox and then achieving the art of radical stability, is super important to our. And so before we get too far into this, I want to talk about stability. So stability that I've known and grown up with knowing is the stability that is preached by society that says you want to strive for sameness. You want to strive for consistency, for lack of change. And it's saying that get to a place where deviation doesn't occur. Get to an environment that stays consistent, where all of my material needs are consistently met. And it's led me to have this idea for a long time that my job is to provide stability for my family, and stability is a steady income, is a safe salary, is staying in the same job until retirement, and is staying in the same home forever, or building an environment that I'm content staying stagnant in. A lot of those things are great and necessary, and some folks long for that. Like there's power in having stable income. There's power in having a safe salary and a safe job. But there also comes a point where what we consider stability, stagnant stability, is actually detrimental to your growth, to your satisfaction, to your impact, to your why not me journey. Where we've convinced ourselves that keeping this the same is more important than growing, than listening to that calling, than challenging ourselves, than scratching the itch for more that we have. And building an environment that is comfortable is what that preaches, is what that teaches, and what that encourages. And I'm here to say that form of stagnant stability is not true stability. That is comfort. This idea of stability comes from folks who are change averse. Growth, why not me, your why not me journey, and being stagnant and static do not go hand in hand. And at one point, thought that by reducing the chance for change, I'm increasing my stability. That is not what I've learned recently. That is a true definition of stability. Some interesting definitions I found. These were, when I read these, they were just weighing heavy on me and really affirmed the things that I was challenging about my perspective on life, my perspective on stability, and my ability to remain stable, comfortable, confident, and at peace with whatever my journey brings to me. The dictionary defines stability as a quality, state, or degree of being stable, such as a strength to stand or endure. And it says, like an example is firmness. It also defines stability as composure, self-possession, and mental soundness / sanity. Those two definitions do not talk about lack of change, do not talk about comfort. They talk about composure. They talk about being stable and a strength to endure, being firm, mental soundness, and sanity. And when I read this, it really challenged me to own the stability that I thought. I'm here to tell you that stability, the true confidence, the true peace and comfort that comes from being stable is not based on the material things around you. It is based all on the intrinsic. If you are in this journey to grow, your why not me journey, and you seek development and meaningful transformation, you need to hear this. Stability is not finding a comfortable, static environment free of challenges. Stability is confidence, peace, and comfort that comes from knowing what is in your toolbox, what you have accomplished, what you have gone through, what you have made it through, and being aware of the greatness within you. And that no matter what comes, no matter what challenges arise as you're going through milestones and through bridges and through events, you may be shaken, but you will not break. You may fall, but you will get back up. And ultimately, you will make it out better than before. This stability, what I call radical stability, the stability that hinges on your abilities to make it through whatever is coming and is thrown at you. This is a long-lasting, enduring stability, staying fixed on what you have, what is true about you, and what will never go away regardless of the environment. That is what's going to create this comfort and this peace. It is a radical trust in what you have learned about yourself. It is a radical trust in your calling that at the end of the day, no matter the challenge, you will endure and you will thrive. I'm challenging you. If you want to grow, if Why Not Me journey is meaningful to you, if you're looking for a life that is meaningful and impactful, to scrap this societal standard of stability and embrace this definition of radical stability. Consider this. Consider a buoy, the flotation device, a buoy in the ocean, a buoy that's meant there to guide, to show us boundaries, people who are driving boats and whatever you're doing on the ocean. It's telling you, hey, heads up, something's here, or come on this way. And whether the ocean is calm or the ocean is raging, the buoy has to be visible and above water. And so I've been out in the ocean and I've seen a buoy in the calm sea, and it's clear. Doesn't move, doesn't get knocked around, nothing really unpredictable. It's just chilling there. And then comes a storm. And then a storm in the ocean is wicked. You have waves, you have wind gusts, you have whirlpools, you have things knocking you around. And the buoy, in the midst of the storm, gets pushed around, punched around. It gets punched underwater, but pops back up. It goes through all this trials, all this adversity, but it never sinks. They always come back up. A buoy, the life of a buoy, is not free of trials, is not free of challenges, and they are grounded in their ability to, no matter what, get back upright and stay above water, regardless of the situation. This is such a simple yet beautiful picture of radical stability. It is not changing my environment to rid the environment of change, of challenge, of adversity. It is being so in tune with what is inside of me that no matter what comes, I will always find a way to still float, to stay upright, and do my job. The other day I was thinking about like this stability, this radical stability that comes from being really in tune with who you are and what you're capable of and in your toolbox. And I thought about this concept of, as a human, we are made up of skills, of tools, of abilities, and knowing what you have in your toolbox is what allows you to be impactful, successful, and meaningful, etc. And so I thought about this. I'm like, there's a few people in my life that I know can fix anything. Anything handy, they have the tool for it, experience with it, or experience similar enough to it, they're comfortable doing it. And think about that. Who is this person in your circle? Who do you know that when you have a problem with plumbing or shingles, or you have to build something, you call them? And think about how calm they are. It's like they have all the tools you could ever need. They know something about everything they've experienced, whether it's fixing a break or whatever. My father-in-law, he's one of those people in my lives. And something he has always told me is that the only constant in life is change. And life is not about living a problem-free life, but being prepared enough when the problems arise. And something that's been like baffling to see over the years is the amount of tools that my father-in-law has. But even more impressive is that he knows exactly where every tool is. And I'm talking like hundreds, maybe even thousands, whether it's in a truck, inside of his garage. And there's never been an issue that has come up, whether it's something breaking, something needing new, something needing built, that has ever knocked him out of his comfort zone to the point where he's been frazzled, he's called it quits, or he's doubted his ability. It's like he's unflappable, never phases him. And I will never forget, this was like a couple years back. My father-in-law has a good amount of land, and he has a detached garage. It's pretty big. And over that garage, there was a huge tree. And it had a ginormous limb that was hanging over the garage. And this was like a mini tree that if it were to fall, it would probably destroy and split right through the garage and cause a headache. And it was like very close. I don't know what went through his mind to say, I can take care of this. So I guess there was like a storm or a freeze coming in the coming weeks that could potentially cause the tree to fall. So I get there and we're hanging out. He's like, yeah, I got to cut this branch down. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, that's a tree, not a branch. It's a tree that's going on a tree. And I'm thinking about, okay, who could we call? Who can we get over here soon to get this tree service? Because my goodness, I'm nervous just thinking about it. And I look down to pull my phone out, do some research, and I look up and I see him setting up a ladder on the side of a tree, throwing a rope over the branch and tying himself like a harness to the tree and doing other things, and pulls out a winch and connects it to the tree and gets it all set up. And he gets a saw ready and he has this plan. He's like thinking, and I see him calculating, and he tosses a rope to me. and I grab it. He's like, all right, whenever I need you to go stand over here, whenever I holler, you need to pull that as hard as possible in that direction or don't stop, okay? Until that tree's on the floor. And I'm nervous. Like my hands are sweating and I'm not even doing the cutting or the planning. And it's not my garage. I don't have to pay a dime if this goes wrong. And I'm losing it. I don't know. I'm like, okay, whatever. If you trust me, I'll do it. But I'm ready to call it quits. But he didn't skip a beat. And so, he went through it. He started cutting. Told me when. He hollered. I pulled. Everything went swell. The tree was a fine margin, but it just missed the building. And it sounded like an earthquake, or felt like an earthquake when it hit the ground. And everything went off great. No damage was done. He did it all by himself in like an hour and a half's work. And in that moment, I was amazed, but I didn't think about what it took for him to handle that situation the way he did. And there's been many situations like that where there was, hey, my brakes are shot. I need to replace them. Pull out the tools and get that fixed too. But he didn't skip a beat. And then I thought about this recently. I'm like, that is years of trials and challenges and years of handiwork and years of accumulating tools, years of cutting smaller trees and practice, and maybe years of coming close to failure or failing that prepared him to handle that moment with poise and confidence and peace, and to maintain stability as he was overcoming that challenge and ultimately succeeded. So I want to challenge you all to think about us humans in our Why Not Me journey. We are a toolbox. We accumulate tools as we go through this journey. As we move through our growth journey, our Why Not Me journey, prepare like the handyman, prepare like my father-in-law. Keep an inventory of what you've done in the past, and make sure you learn from each challenge, and let that build your swagger, your confidence, your motivation, and your ability to move forward, and take advantage of every practice run. And also take inventory of these skills and the tools that you have. So remember them, recall them, write them down, list them. And when a challenge comes, be like the buoy, don't sink, or be like my father-in-law, reach into your toolbox and make a plan to succeed based on what you know you can do and what you've done. Trust in your abilities and find peace in your practice to ultimately maintain that comfort and reach radical stability. It's about being at peace with the challenge and comfortable overcoming it. That is radical stability. And that comes from knowing what is in your toolbox, knowing the tools that you have. You are capable and you are greater than you give yourself credit for. This week, I challenge you to take an inventory of your toolbox. Make a list of what you've accomplished, whatever you think is big and small. When you make that list, I want you to break each accomplishment down into milestones and bridges, and then highlight what it took from you to make it through those seasons. So, for example, for me, something that I've been doing recently, my current leader, my current supervisor challenged me to make a list like this. I call it my helmet sticker list, based on some encouragement. I'm a sports fan, and football players, when you do a good play, you get a sticker to put on your helmet to resemble that good play, that skill, that ability, and that builds swagger. And when I was doing this, my boss was like, hey, don't just do the big things. Talk about everything it took to make that big thing happen. Talk about the leadership, the planning, the communication, the organization, the development, the ideation, the finding the problem, the overcoming the problem, the everything, every single piece. Write it down. And at the end of your exercise, you should have a detailed list of some of the great and amazing things that you've done. That's step one, or part A of the challenge. Part B of the challenge. You completed that list. Then I want you to identify what is a current obstacle or challenge in your why not me journey right now that has you doubting yourself. Once you identify that challenge, go back to your list, pick out some tools from your inventory, from your toolbox that you will use to overcome it, that you will use to find peace, that you will use to find comfort, and that you will use to achieve radical stability and succeed. The ability to maintain radical stability, stability that relies solely on the intrinsic, solely on your abilities, is powerful. And it is unchanging in the way that sense that it never goes away. It only grows. And regardless of what comes in your environment, regardless of what your next milestone looks like, regardless of what this current challenge is, that inventory will be there. There is no change that can take that comfort and that stability away. So inventory your toolbox, you will find comfort and peace that won't leave as soon as something changes. Embrace the ever-changing environment and keep adding tools to your toolbox. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great day, a great month. And remember to go and be great. Go and be you because you were meant to be great. And after all, it all starts with one question. Why not me?